All right, hello and welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging and Friends. We are playing Call of Cthulhu tonight. We're continuing our Horror on the Orient Express campaign. We got a full crew tonight. We will most likely be leaving London tonight, but now that I said that, I probably cursed it, and we probably won't do that now. So, but yeah, we got a bunch of different things to kind of go over. We're kind of we got our big. Like the big overarching quest that is Horror on the Orient Express. We got that last session, and I'll kind of give a summary and go over that again because I know Matt wasn't here, and just to kind of get everybody else on the same page as to what basically this campaign is now. And so we'll cover that. But before we do that,
it's going to be a pub crawl. We're going to stay in London. We're going to do a pub crawl, and this is going to be the session tonight. We're just going to pub.
I do have a very large list of pubs that I did prepare. So
we're going to be playing this campaign forever.
Can we go for tacos?
I don't think there's. I'm going to guess. I don't have the research on this. I'm going to guess there weren't a lot of taco places in London in 1923. I'm going to guess that. I could be wrong.
Okay.
I'm going to guess no, but
okay. That's
I
fair.
mean, we'll make one, but I'm saying historical.
Yeah,
I don't care about historical accuracy. Yeah. There's a Taco Bell by the Old Bailey.
I knew it.
Of course.
Right there.
I knew it.
It's going to be great.
You can have your tacos. I prefer bangers and mash.
Those are pretty good. Bangers and mash are great.
Dirty.
Okay. All right. Let's do a little intro characters really fast. You all should start, by the way, if you haven't. I know some of you have your from when we did our character creation way back, like the original PDFs when we did the kind of the life path system. But your backstory stuff is going to be important when it comes to sanity, like when you do like your a sanity law, temporary sanity, and that kind of stuff. Like that's where we start shifting and changing some of your backstory details, because that's what happens with temporary insanity and things. So you might want to start adding those to your sheet if you haven't already, or at least review them. And then there's going to be a little house rule stuff that I'm going to introduce tonight in your favor that is going to kind of pull on your backstories a bit as we try to get people to like you all so that when you go insane or die, they feel bad when it happens.
Yay!
Yeah, because I don't want anyone to be happy. So let's do a little intro. Let's get everyone's characters out there, who they are, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll get started. So Jeremy, tell us about Joseph Tidwell.
Hello, I am Joseph Tidwell, Staff Sergeant, if you please. I prefer Stuntman. I was born a hideous fishman, but I've learned to lean into my strength. So, people watch cinema. They want to see the hero succeed, but they don't want to get over on some lousy nincompoop. But you put them in front of a big, hideous man and let me be the one to take the fall. Children cheer, they yell, and they're happy. And that's because of me. I take the fall to make people happy.
Well done. And yes, the Fishman stuff has come up a few times here and there. We'll see if it ever comes up in a bad way. But so far it's come up in sort of comedic way. Next up, we've got Mr. Moneybags. We got Gregory Kozel. Yeah, Chuck, tell us about
That's me. I am Mr. Moneybags. I have wealth and a gun. I'm like Batman, kind of. It's quite fantastic.
Do you have all the trinkets and things and the mommy daddy issues and stuff?
No, I'm like Flashpoint Batman. I've just got money and a gun.
When you go after the villain or whatever villains there might be in here, you're going to turn out you're both going to have the same mother name, and then you're going to probably side with them.
Oh, we're siblings.
Yeah, like your
That's
mom's
so
name
precious. I like
was
it.
Martha too. Stupidest thing.
Oh, everyone's mother is Martha.
Yeah, just to be safe. Next up, Melissa, tell us about Pema.
Yeah, so Pema Namdak is our scientist. She has not necessarily been the star of the show lately, which is totally fine because we were doing definitely non-sciencey things. So, opportunities to use library sciences would be welcome because library use is her best stat. She is definitely a bibliophile nerd type. One thing that I did want to mention to make sure that we informed Matt of is that we collectively made a personality for him last session.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about this. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
Does anyone remember the personality? Now it's vaguely coming back to me.
It's a mime.
It's
just
a
a
mime.
It's a mime.
mime.
That's right. Yeah. So one of your personalities, Matt, is a mime.
Oh no.
That's
You
great.
weren't here, so you were around but not speaking, and so of course it's a mime persona.
Fantastic.
We'll see.
I don't
We'll
think we
see
came up with a
about
name or anything, for it, but yeah, it's just a temporary insanity. All right, next up, we've got Adam. Adam, tell us about your character. I'll let you pronounce the name. I'm not sure which way you're going now.
Yes, I'm going with Killian after I found out the proper way it is pronounced. Name is Killian Bangara, and I was raised to be passed around amongst society's elite. I am a sex worker, and so I found myself at this dinner and was rolled into this group with going on this adventure, I suppose you could say, and lovely people, each and every one of them, including the 5 that are in one body. But yes, so I'm just happy to be here.
Fantastic. And you, if I'm trying to remember, what was your connection to Professor Smith again?
His wife was a friend.
Okay, special friend, right? Special friend. All right.
Yes. When you're of that particular social class, you are allowed to do certain things. Usually they know about it, but it's not often talked about.
Fair enough. And then finally, Matt, tell us about Reginald.
Reginald Abernathy. He's a occultist, former law enforcement, multiple personality enthusiast, traveled to strange new worlds and seen civilizations, and now he's here.
That's funny.
Crazy guns and gizmos and wrestling masks.
God. You've got that lightning gun or something?
That electric gun, lightning gun. I found it on my character creation thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny. We were entertaining our nephews this weekend, and we were watching the original Star Trek series last night. They're like, "What's this?" I'm like, "It's a documentary on space travel," and they got all excited because they thought I was being serious. So
That is amazing.
it's really great. And then this morning I got to introduce them to Darkwing Duck, so that was doubly awesome, and they really liked it. So they're like, "It's so good because they talk like ducks." I'm like, "Yeah, because they're mostly ducks." But yeah, but it was great. All right. Sorry, I just realized because I haven't played a game in a couple of days that I forgot to drop this in Discords in my usual process. So I'm doing that now. That's why I'm being a little slow. But I think I'm up to
and
date.
also, one thing, thank you, Lords and Ladies of Fate, for the raid.
Oh, awesome. I didn't even see that. My bad. Lords and Ladies of
Welcome
Fate,
in.
thank you so much. Perfect
Yes.
timing.
Yes, let's get dangerous.
Better watch out, you bad boys. Okay, so let's hit the summary then. So I think, Matt, the last time you played, we had just returned to London at the very end, and this is after the Doom Train debacle, the issues that you had out in sort of the English countryside. So last time around, we started off, Killian, you were kind of dealing with the hotel and the sort of the fallout of the Randolph Alexis issue, kind of like answering questions and stuff about this old man's dead body that you delivered. Joseph and Reginald just got news of Professor Smith's house burnt down, and they had a little card, Joseph specifically, that was an address somewhere, and they wanted you all to come as fast as possible because it was apparently from Smith. Grigori and Pema saw this news story about a man who died 3 times in one evening. And so that was kind of where we left off when last time Matt was in. So we started up last time. You guys got together and you eventually went to this neighborhood late at night, Cheapside. It was run down. It was cold. It was foggy. It was desolate, etc. And you had some weird encounters along the way. And there was like a beggar who was like kind of an amputee, asked you guys some questions. You gave him some booze. There was all these stray cats in the alleyway that kind of didn't seem to like Tidwell, but kind of like Killian, it seemed. There was a drunken street preacher who kind of fell like ass over head and kind of got robbed by a bunch of street urchins. all that kind of stuff. Plus, there was this general feeling that you guys were being followed, and like the shadows were kind of dancing around the walls. There were sounds, but you could never quite pick out exactly who it was. There was a car that you saw at one point that was sort of flanking you for a bit, but then you kind of lost sight of things. Eventually, you got into the apartment, and you saw that both of the address that Joseph was given, and you saw that Beddoes, the manservant for Professor Smith, he had burnt scars and bandages on his hands, but it was the professor who had it way worse, as he just had tons of burn scars all over his body, to the point where his hair was mostly singed, his mustache was gone to sideburns, his eyes were swollen, like blistery, and he could barely talk. And he gave this kind of lengthy plea to you all, while barely being able to talk, that he wanted you all to pick up a task that he was working on. And the very people who burned down his house and attacked him were trying to prevent him from completing. So he told you about the Sedefkar Simulacrum, this ancient, what he believes is evil artifact that he believes this cult of some kind, probably Turkish of origin, he believes, is trying to reassemble. As it was dismembered years ago, like hundreds of years ago. And his task that he was going to undertake and hopefully invite you to do was to travel across Europe, where all these pieces have been separated and kind of put in different locations, and just destroy it once and for all. Like, he didn't want this cult to sort of get it and piece it back together. He had a bunch of notes and stuff, but unfortunately his house was burnt down. So either the cultists have his notes, or they died, hopefully, in the fire. He did have, as best he could, like a recollection of an outline. Beddoes gave you that. We have it in our Foundry section under the Orient Express handouts. There's in the London handout, I think it's London handouts, there should be Beddoes notes, has basically everything, if you guys want to take a look at that again. And it kind of highlights some of the places we might be going and different pieces of this simulacrum, the statue. Eventually, you guys agreed. He gave you a bunch of money. You left, and you basically have enough money to pay for your travel on the Orient Express to kind of go to these places and to collect these things. You decided you were going to do some other things. You're going to kind of do some research. So Pema and Randolph, you were kind of trying to get access to the British Museum and Library. You spoke with one of Professor Smith's colleagues at his university to sort of get a reference. Grigori and Killian and Joseph went around shopping for a bit, kind of getting supplies. And you also talked to one of the cops who at Scotland Yard about this weird case that's going on with the three Mehmet Makriats, who are all owner. That's the name of the owner of the Crescent Treasury, which you all had burgled a few sessions back. And you learned that each one of the bodies of these young men that were found, each one of them, their body was partially skinned. So one of them had their torso skin, another leg, another an arm. And that was like kind of the big revealing detail. And each one of them had an identical telegram. Meet me in London at once. Urgent M. So we're going to pick up, we're going to say that you're trying to acquire approval and access is probably going to take like a day or two, 24 to 36 hours to kind of gain access to the library, all your shopping, and the various tasks that you were trying to complete before your travel is also kind of taking the same amount. And so I'm going to say we'll probably have two groups, but you're welcome to rearrange this as some time has transpired. Pema and Reginald, since you are setting up the library research, because library use rolls, you can continue to do that. If you want to go back and actually start making some of those rolls and seeing what you can find, or if you wanted to switch up, let me know. And then Killian, Joseph, and Kozel, you were kind of poking around with this 3 dead guy thing, and if there's something else you wanted to do. We'll say it's Monday at this point. It's midday. It's raining. It's cold, etc. So what would we think everybody is probably tending to at this point?
Emma is definitely anxious to smell the smell of library books again and be doing some research.
I would also like to go do some research.
Okay. So we'll say the two of you head over to the British Museum and Library. And again, this is the type of place that you need a lot of a lot of recommendation, or you have to like write ahead of time to know what you're researching. You have to give them cause to why they should let you in here. And when the two of you arrive, because it's a cold and rainy day. It's not extraordinarily active, but you do have your recommendation that was been forwarded by the University of London. Pema, you probably have a name that is recognizable in some fields, as you yourself are a scientist. You've worked within London at the zoo and everything. So I think between those two things, you're probably able to get access on the Monday without any problems. When you go back into sort of the reading room, kind of consult with some of these librarians here and there who will point you this way or that, you can see that there's maybe at most a dozen people, and it is a kind of very quiet series of rooms. And whenever you get kind of near a window, which are beautiful, are the only thing you really hear is like the pelting of rain against the glass. So you guys are there. What about the other three? What are you guys up to?
So, go ahead. I was going to say, we've already talked to the police officer. I would be happy to follow up with more of that if you'd like, but I think we got a lot of the information from him. Like each one of them had a limb that was skinned. Other than that, they don't.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to have any luck trying to get a look at their passports. We could possibly try to talk with some of the staff at where they were staying. Something a little less direct, but perhaps they would have heard something, seen something. Maybe some crisp bills put in the right hands of a cleaning lady or some sort.
I suppose I could do that.
You are a charmer.
If we go to where they're staying, then I could ask a few questions.
Some of us got charm. Some of us got money. Some of us just have friends that have charm and money.
I do happen to have both.
That's fair.
Oh, dear. So did I hear that correctly? You all want to go to the hotel and try to speak with some of the staff there? You did hear that there are some cleaning women who actually discovered the bodies. Okay, so that's the Chelsea Arms Hotel. So we'll say that's where you all are headed. The three of you are headed to the Chelsea Arms Hotel. Okay, so let's start with our library research folk. So what would we say you want to be researching? How about that? Like what's the idea you're looking to look for here? Like what are some of your keyword searches?
Pema, I would say, would probably start with, and I will probably butcher this name, but I'm just going to go forward with it. Comte Fenelick, the owner of the statue. So that would probably be her starting point.
Okay, fair enough. And Reginald, you can either do the same, which would give her a bonus die on her roll, or you can do your own research on a different topic, or even the same topic if you want, and then you would kind of do your own roll. It's kind of up to you.
I didn't go straight for the simulacrum. I went sort of a little bit around, but if you want to go straight for it,
I'll go for it then. The simulacrum, whatever you pronounce it. Let's do it.
Setifkar simulacrum. All right, so both of you go ahead. Give me library use rolls. If you are interested in academic research, people who are watching,
I am spending 7 luck to pass this. Sorry.
No worries, you're good. Okay, so it looks like so you got a success.
This is a better start for Pema. So she's got a 70 in library use, and she rolled a 19.
Okay, so what kind of success was that? Hard success, I think.
Oh, I don't know.
I think that's half. I don't think it's 1/5. Okay, all right. So we'll start with the simulacrum. You made a success. So this is all, by the way, taking hours. So this isn't just like you go up to a bookshelf, you take one thing out. It's more of you're consulting with various library attendants. Fortunately, it's actually probably moving more quickly today because there's just so few people here. More than once, you can see like there's like a scholar like a couple tables away from you that's kind of slumped over, and as you're kind of going back and forth to like one of the library attendants, once or twice you kind of see them sort of slide a bit, and then you almost kind of get the sense that they're almost falling asleep. It's that kind of gray, dreary day. A few other times, like you kind of bump into probably Pema, someone you might recognize either from your time when you were kind of working here within sort of more sort of biology circles or zoology circles. Someone you might recognize by face but can't put by name. But it's a slow plodding day. And so this is like you all going through literally dozens of books, whether it's, and some of them are in English, some of them aren't. And so you're kind of having to get like the assistance of others perhaps to translate. So we'll start with Reginald that one's the easiest. So you got a success, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Single success.
So you, as you're going through, you probably pound through about 2-3 dozen different manuscripts, some of which are bound, some of which are some cases just loose scrolls. You have to put on like these special gloves, and you have like an attendant like hovering over top of you, making sure you're not doing anything wrong. And after several hours, you've come up with essentially one hit, and one hit only. And it's not an exact hit. It's instead a reference to this illuminated manuscript from the 13th century. Called the Devil's Simulare. And they don't have like a full copy of it here, and they don't necessarily know. They think it's Latin in origin, but as you're speaking with the attendant, they reference that according to their documentation, there is another library in Paris, in fact, the Bibliothèque Nationale, that might actually either have an actual copy of the manuscript, or at the very least would be able to maybe redirect you to a different location where there might be an intact version of it. But the British Library doesn't have one.
Okay.
Then Pema, you were specifically looking into Comte Fenelick, right?
Yes.
All right. So, and did you pass? You got the hard success, right?
Yes, the 19 under 70.
Okay. So, do you speak French?
Let's say I do, which is going to require me to come up with why I do.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Roll. Yes. Okay, sure. Roll a int test right now, an intelligence test.
Okay, I've got an 80 in it, so hopefully this got a pretty good chance here. That is a 28 under 80.
Okay, so we'll say that so we're going to do like I already mentioned this to them ahead of time, in terms of like doling out certain languages and stuff. We'll say you give yourself a language French scale of 40. And so we'll say with that, you're able to piece together a few things. The British Library doesn't have any real extensive research on this name. It doesn't really pop up. You're having it probably even harder time than Reginald, as at the very least, like they find the reference to the Devil's Simulare, and it's just a matter of trying to locate a copy. For you, it's just like you're going through all of these various history about like French aristocracy for hundreds and hundreds of years. Some of it is actually in French, just sort of bastardized combination. But you do find eventually, after a very long day, there is one thing that kind of pops up, and it kind of comes up here and there. It's reference to some sort of scandal. It's this court, like all these different court histories. It's very vague. It's this unspecified scandal in the Queen's court on the eve of the Revolution, the French Revolution. And apparently there was a man of minor nobility who was involved in some sort of indiscretion with the Queen. And there was like this big palace uproar, and this man was executed. So says these records, without trial. It was actually a German count by the name of Fenelick. So that's where the name pops up. But you don't notice anything currently in what you have here of like records of that name persisting to today. But at the same time, you're in London, and so more than likely you would have better luck at determining that in Paris. But that's what we'll say you kind of come up with.
Okay, so Fenelek was a German who
According to what you
was
found.
alleged to have some indiscretions with the Queen of France right before the French Revolution.
And was executed without trial, according to what you found.
Oh, yes, the important detail.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
We'll kick over to the other three of you for a moment, and then we'll come back to the library, folks. You all were headed to the Chelsea Hotel. And you specifically want to try to speak with the staff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you head over to the hotel, it's been a few days since the big issue that went down here that was all over the papers. And so you can certainly tell while there is a police presence here still, it doesn't have the kind of the overwhelming sense of it. You're not seeing people in officer clothing left and right, but there is some. And you can see they're outside. Some of them are in the lobby here and there. So it's more than you would expect to find in any specific hotel. So what would your strategy be? Like, what do you think you guys are going to do here?
First, I'll just start to see if there are any like cleaning staff amongst the rooms, and then start asking them what their schedule may have been like, and if they have the right schedule, then ask them if it was all right if they ask some questions about that night.
Okay, so you're just going to go kind of floor to floor looking for just a cleaning crew coming through?
Yeah, not necessarily checking in with the desk because we don't have any actual authority.
Right.
So perhaps Joseph or Scrooge would keep the desk. I've said Scrooge because that's what his Grigory Kozel will keep the front desk busy.
I can certainly play the part here. That is absolutely fine.
Okay, so Grigory, you're going to try to keep the front desk busy while Killian just sort of moves past and through up the elevator and starts searching. What is Joseph going to do?
Okay.
Well, I am a bumbling idiot of an American. So what do you expect to do other than wander into places I'm not supposed to be? But I'm going to try and do it all casual like, so it's not really obvious. And then I'll take a look, maybe into a couple of the rooms that were reported, because we do know the rooms where they were staying. So as these other twos who are doing the things that they're doing, I'll walk through the hallways. I'll maybe try to lean into a door, try to look around, and hopefully not be noticed doing so.
All right, so I think I got a general idea. All right, so Grigory, what were you going to say? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I was just going to suggest before we split, if you'd all can, find the maintenance rooms, find the mechanical workers. No one gossips like them. While I'm distracting them, maybe one of the two of you can see if you can find those places.
They're usually in the same place in each hotel. I've spent many an hour in them.
Okay. So Killian, if you're just looking for cleaning crew, roll a luck test, and we'll just that's basically what it's going to be. Joseph, if you're trying to sneak into, first what I'll say is when you go up to one of the rooms where they were found, you do notice that while there's no one guarding it any longer, but you do see it's been kind of marked off and kind of locked, and you can tell that it's still under, since the investigation is still underway, it's been sort of marked off in such a way that no one's supposed to enter. And it will say that when you go to the other two rooms, you find the same thing. Like no one's guarding it actively. It's been a couple days. No one's guarding these sites, but certainly they're still kind of keeping that under wraps. And the hotel is not allowed to start letting people cycle into them. So with that in mind, what's your tactic, Joseph?
Well, I am a rather nimbly-bimbly sort of man. I'm pretty good at squeezing into tight spaces, doing falls, getting down and low if I need to. No, he'll try and like wedge himself through without upsetting. I don't know what the best skill for that is.
Yeah, it might just be a dex roll, to be honest.
I've got lots of dodge and like weird things like that don't really roll for that, but I can just roll dex.
If you want to roll dodge, yeah, I'll take dodge. You're dodging the tape of some kind, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
I may or may not be fishing for skill checks.
Oh no, for sure. And I'm trying to say yes. All right. Okay. So 28 under 50, you're able, we'll say you go into, okay. Yeah, we'll say you go into the one that's highest up in the hotel. And you manage to, can you get the door open? Actually, I should say it's locked as well. Do you want to do a locksmith test or do you want to force it open?
Yeah, I've got a 1% in locksmithing.
Okay.
But I have an 80% in strength.
Okay. So if you just want to break it open, go ahead. I will say, though, breaking it open is kind of going to make the dodge check slightly moot. Like you won't split the tape, but you might splinter, depending on how well you do, you might splinter like the frame of the door or something. So the better you do, the better the result's going to be.
I'll try it. Why not?
Okay.
In for a penny, in for a pound. He's already like got one leg through the tape. He's halfway through it. It's kind of like that. Yeah, I'm going for it.
Okay. All right. So it's 44 under 80. If you spend 4 points of luck, you can make that a hard success. And maybe
I will.
Okay. So we'll say you manage to it's more of a case of like you don't split the door frame, but you can tell that you might have mangled the lock a bit as you pop it open. So it's not immediately obvious the way like splitting the wood of the door frame would be, but you manage to kind of move the lock a little bit and just sort of push it ever so slightly near the lock, and that you can hear the machinery inside kind of you know that something's wrong there. They're probably gonna have to replace it, but it's not immediately noticeable. You push the door open and you can see this room, which is it's a very nice looking room. In fact, it's not, it's a decent looking hotel. It kind of has sort of a similar setup to every other room, maybe if you poked into others or something like that. But you do notice that there are signs of the cops have been here. You can tell that they've marked some things. You can see on the floor very clearly and immediately where likely the body was laying. There's stains still on the carpet. It hasn't kind of gone through any kind of crime scene cleanup yet. And we'll kick it over. Think about what you might want to do in there. And we'll kick it over to Grigori. Grigori, you've been trying. So you're trying to just sort of distract.
Yeah. Keep the front desk's attention. That way, hopefully they don't pick anything up. Maybe being very loud and obnoxious in the same time to also keep hopefully other patrons on me.
Okay. Let's say maybe a charm test. Let's see if you can. Persuade might also be fine here too.
You know what? I'm a charming guy. We'll go with that. 43 over 15.
Okay. That's not a success.
It's not.
Unless you want to drop like 30 luck, if you happen to be flush with luck.
I do have 80 luck.
Yeah.
28. I love these rolls.
Yeah, but that doesn't get me the chance to increase my charm skill.
Neither does this though.
Charm doesn't go up.
You have to pass the test. That's why I'm doing a little bonus thing.
Well, I'm not having any of that. I'm spending 37 luck.
You could just spend 28, but if you want to give me 37, that's fine too.
Is that what the math is? I don't math well.
Yeah, 43 minus 15 is 28.
Which is why I said 30. Because
I'll take 37.
How dare you? How dare you?
So you're at the front desk. You can see it's the middle of the day. It's actually kind of busy in the lobby. There's kind of a hotel restaurant in here, and there's many people kind of just crowded around. You can even see that no one's really waiting outside for cars. Every now and then you can see someone comes in and sort of calls out a name, like their car has arrived, because like it's raining so hard outside that no one really wants to linger out there. But there is a good deal of traffic within the lobby, which is actually in some ways making your job easier in the sense that it's harder for anyone to really notice Killian or Joseph just slip past. But on the other hand, it's making it a little bit harder for you to keep the attention of this person at the desk who's being flagged down by others. And like, sir, do you have a room here? Is that the issue?
No, my good sir, I do not. But I'm quite interested in staying with your hotel. I was just hoping that you could tell me About perhaps the thread count.
Threat count? No, sir, there's no threats here at all. You're
No,
very safe and kind here.
How highly crafted are the bed sheets, the comforters, the duvets, the throw pillows?
I see. Of course. Yes, you're very you're very keen on comfort. I see.
Yes.
Well, I can assure you that they are tip-top, sir. I don't have the exact number on me, but I can assure you that they are equal to, if not higher, than your other options in this neighborhood.
That's fair.
Yes, and I can assure you, if you find them to not be your liking, I'm sure we could find a suitable placement. We have very wonderful tailors and craftsmen within the city of London. If we have to fetch something of higher quality, I'm sure we can do that for you.
So breakfast in the morning, it is included, correct?
Well, not included so much as we have options within the hotel, of course.
Oh, it does not include the continental breakfast.
Continental? No.
How else am I exposed to experience every region of the world, if not at breakfast in a hotel?
Well, that is an interesting
France?
thought. Yeah, well,
America.
we have croissants. We have a very fabulous bakery down the street that we order many of our baked goods from, and among those croissants, yes, for sure.
So I did spend quite a bit of time in the States. When I ask for biscuits in the morning, what are you going to bring me?
Biscuits. You eating cookies? I believe.
No, see, you've got it all wrong. The Americans have a different form of biscuit. I'll just continue this on as long as he'll let me. Yeah.
You can tell. You pass, so he is continuing to go and getting increasingly flustered and just trying so hard to maintain, a level of decency with his customer.
Yeah.
We'll cut over to Killian then. Killian, how'd you do with that luck test? Did you pass?
With 2 stars.
Okay, so hard success. We'll say somewhere around probably with a hard success, say the second level. Like you go to the second floor you do see outside of one of the rooms, there is a woman who is wearing kind of hotel attire suggestive of being kind of a maid cleaning woman. And you can see that she has some supplies. She's kind of going in and out of this one room. It's not one of the ones that Joseph was going towards, but it's just somebody working here. She looks to you would put her maybe in her 40s or so. Her hair is kind of neatly and conservatively done. There's like a kind of a band across the top of her head. And she's kind of humming to herself as you walk by. What do you want to do?
Hello. What's your name?
Oh, hello, sir. My name, I'm Nancy. Yes.
Ah, Nancy. Pleasure to meet you. Say.
Oh, pleasure to meet you too, sir. Can I help you with something?
Yes, I was wondering if you could help me with some answers and help me find what I'm looking for.
Oh, do you need more toilet paper or some other sort of toiletry? Is that what you mean, sir?
No, what I need is perhaps what only you have, and that is knowledge.
Not knowledge?
Yes.
Well, I can tell you how to clean certain stains at a particular fabrics. I could tell you the proper way to make a bed. I'm quite a mean pastry cook as well.
That's lovely, darling. But what I'm interested is more along the lines of human studies. You see, I am a human studies specialist myself, and I was wondering if you were here. And it was like 2 nights ago, right? Or 1 night ago.
It was. Let's see. This is Monday, so it was I think it was like 4 days ago.
I was wondering if you were here 4 days ago in the evening.
And you rolled a hard success in your luck. Okay, so you can see her face goes a little pale, and she was smiling and kind of bright. Was, sir? Yes, I was. But you can tell you're good with human relations. That kind of triggered something with her. Yeah.
Oh, my dear, do you need to sit down for a moment? And I offer her my handkerchief so she can wipe her brow.
Oh, thank you, sir. It's very gentlemanly of you. Now I'll... And she kind of wipes it off. She puts it on her nose and then hands it back to you.
Yeah, I fold it and put it in my pocket. And, like, completely unfazed by it.
She kind of looks around. I was directed by the authorities to not speak of it, sir.
No, yes, of course. But you see, like I said, I'm in human studies, and I like to find out the way people work. I am trained in psychology, so I was just wondering if you could tell me anything about the visitors that may have come to and from the rooms. Mehmet's visitors, if any.
All right, let's do a charm test, I think, right? It sounds about right.
Okay. So looks like
80.
I'll need to spend 9 luck in order to get that.
Okay. 88 over 79. Wow, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay. So she'll look at you and she'll kind of sigh and be like, you can't say it's from me, sir, but I'll say everyone's gossip about it at this point. So, it was horrifying, sir. It was absolutely horrifying. I found one of them. His arm there was no skin on it, sir. It was just, it was bright and red, and I could see, they called them like muscle fibers, and it was absolutely horrifying to see. And then I heard from my other friends that are not working today that they found something similar, but it was a leg. And then poor Betty, she found the one that was a torso. Oh God!
When she starts crying, I'll put my hand on her shoulder in a comforting way. And then, see, what I'm hoping to do to help is, if we can figure out why a person would do such a thing, then perhaps we can identify it, make sure that it doesn't happen again. And if someone were to ever be in such a situation again, find them the help that they need.
Well, I don't know why
someone such as yourself,
like this.
Someone such as yourself should not have witnessed it. You're here to work and make a living, not have to suffer those traumatic experiences.
It was horrifying. I can't get it out of my head. I can barely sleep. I see the board. I thought he was on the ground. I thought he was sick or he hurt himself, and then I tried to help him. And he was an attractive young man too. Such a shame. Such a shame.
Attractive and young, taken before was their time.
And that's the curious thing too. That I was speaking with some of the cops, and they were feeding me a cup of tea and being very kind themselves, to be honest.
Yes.
I overheard one of them say that they were quite kind of perplexed as the name. Oh, what was his name? Mehmet Macri, I believe, is what each of them were called. And then they were asking the rest of us and others in the neighborhood about whether or not we knew anything about the man, or whether he'd come in before. Was he a repeat customer? And he wasn't. But they learned that he owned a shop, but in Arlington. But he was an old man, and then much older. But these were young lads. These were 20s, maybe. Whole lives ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite peculiar, and it was. And I thought there was just a case of mistaken identity, and then they were talking about having trouble with the Turkish embassy because apparently they were Turkish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know for sure, but they got me out of the room quite fast, though, and then they were quite kind. But she kind of shrugs at that point.
Well, I appreciate you telling me about that.
Oh, of course. Again, I didn't say anything to you, sir.
Of course not. Of course not. No, he didn't receive any visitors. at all?
No, they spoke with the front desk about that, and no visitors at all. Strangest thing.
It is strange. And when you were the one that had to clean the room, is that correct?
Oh yeah, yes. I was servicing the rooms.
Say, when you had to clean the room, is there anything that was a bit out of the ordinary from someone who might be staying there? Like any predilections they may have had that, isn't normally spoken of, but it's only something that someone who cleaned the room would know?
Nothing like that I can remember. We do get a few folks with some very peculiar sensibilities, but nothing like that. Other than the results, they were, they easily be forgotten otherwise.
Yes, of course.
And that's what the front desk folks said, that they don't think they had any visitors, but they were just so bland and not too exciting that it's possible we could have missed it. Maybe they did. I don't know.
Yeah, very well. My experience in human studies has led to peculiar proclivities. So I was wondering, would you mind if I had a look at the room? Perhaps there's something that was missed.
You only got a regular success, right, on the charm test?
Yeah.
So I've been very kind, but I feel like I've maybe shouldn't go that far. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as I know, they're still crime scenes, and I don't want to get in trouble with the law. They were so kind. Plus, they have my name and my face and so many other things about me on file. They could easily find me if something were to happen. So I'm going to have to decline. I'm very sorry.
So at this moment, I'm like studying her intently as she says that. I'm wondering if I can get into her psyche to see what could be said to convince her otherwise.
I'm gonna say, because the charm is a regular success, like you can roll a psych test if you want to get a sense if she's like telling you the truth or something. But if you want to push the roll, the charm test, we can say you can push the roll, but there is the potential of there being a problem, but you've already spent the luck on it. So I think that we're like retconning now a roll, and we probably shouldn't do that. So
I see.
I'm gonna say we're probably gonna leave it at that, because especially since we have Joseph going into a room anyway. So I do think we might be able to pick up on that.
Sure. Yeah. And so then I'll, sort of back off from that, spend some time talking her through what happened, genuine interest of helping her get through that. But, we don't necessarily need to role play that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's cut back then to the library crew. You've been working most of the day. I'll say, are there any other topics you want to look into? I think you've done the set of cars simulacrum specifically. You've done Comte Fenelic. Anything else?
I'm looking at you, Pema.
Pema was thinking about trying to get a jump start, and we may not be able to get anything here in London, but the set of car scrolls.
Okay.
So any references to that?
All right. So I'm going to need 2 for that.
I will assist.
Perfect. So library use with a bonus, or you got to make the library roll, and I need a luck roll too, but you can put the bonus die to whichever one of those you prefer, whether it's luck or library.
Well, library 70 and luck is 42. So
you're better than me. I'm library 70 and luck's only 29. So you're So do I need to assist Pema? Do I need to make a library use roll?
No, I'm just going to give her the bonus die for it.
Okay.
You have a high enough.
Okay.
But it's legit.
So this is where math, 20 under 70 for the library roll.
Very good. That is a hard success. So remember, it's 50% of the score. If you beat 50, like half the score, it's hard. If it's 1/5 of the score, it's extreme. So that's half. That's less than half. So it's a hard success. How about the luck test? Good there.
Okay. And so this is, oops, sorry, that was loud.
All
Dice
sorts of
going
noise
flying. Metal dice going flying. Okay. So do I roll 2 10s die for a bonus? Is that?
Yeah,
For the luck.
just like any other thing, just like any other roll where you roll bonus die.
So it was a 54 and I was aiming for a 42. So that's
Okay. That was the best thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, okay. So you start looking into the set of scrolls. So Pema, you kind of take the lead on this, and you're probably with that same kind of library attendant you've been working with this whole time. You've been, as best you can, kind of trying to get some idea of this. It's the same term, kind of following up on Reginald, who did like the set of simulacrum. And the attendant's kind of like, we don't have enough. We just don't have this. And I'll say that what you get one kind of small lead, and they say this term, these scrolls, this thing is like they had found like another potential lead for Reginald that they kind of follow up on with you a little bit. And they refer you to the Topkapi Museum in Constantinople. No idea if I pronounced that right. Probably didn't. Probably not. As apparently those manuscripts might have been there, according to some vague documentation they have, but it's pre the Great War, so who knows if that's changed in the time. Then Reginald, while she's doing that, roll a spot hidden.
Yes, gladly. Spot hidden. Success.
Okay. So, like I said, it's been raining a lot. There's not a whole lot of people here. You've been basically monopolizing many of the attendants. There's only been like a handful of other folks, and most of them are not necessarily in the reading room, but they're in other areas within the library. And a couple times you've noticed that like a table or two from where you and Pema have been doing your primary research here, there was like one other scholar that at a certain point you thought was just kind of asleep. But then as like, you know, you and Pema are kind of going through and looking at this info about, you know, and kind of talking with the attendant, if both of you, and maybe you see it first, you kind of see the movement of the corner of their eyes, the body of this scholar just kind of starts to slide down the chair and then just flops onto the ground. And you can see the chair kind of falls over, kind of creates this big racket. And it's extraordinarily noticeable because it's just so quiet in here. And even that sudden sound just dwarfs the rain. And the body is just of this scholar just laying there on the ground.
Okay, I will run over and, my good man, are you okay? What's happened to you? I'll go over and try to lift him back up and check on him. And
so you see like this guy's like laying on the ground. There's this like heavy coat, and you can see like his hat that he had been wearing at some point, which was fairly rude to be wearing a hat indoors like this, has fallen off. And you notice that the top of his head is quite scarred. And you kind of touch it, or maybe you kind of peer at it or whatever it might be. And it's almost kind of wet at the same time. And when you roll the body over, you realize that it is just a man in a trench coat. There's this big coat. It's almost bigger than the body would normally fit. And you notice in horror that underneath, like you can see like his shirt is not quite buttoned properly here or there. And you can see parts of the chest are sort of showing, and you can see like one of the leg sleeves has sort of rolled up from falling onto the ground. And you can see a little section of like beneath the sleeve of the leg and above the sock. You don't see skin. There's no skin. Roll a sand test there, Reginald.
pass.
Okay. Take 1 point of sand, as this is just kind of a shocking development. And when you look at his face, it's the same thing. Like the skin has just been peeled away as if it has been flayed.
Somebody call a doctor! Call a doctor!
And so, Pema, you hear Reginald just from a couple tables ago, a couple tables nearby, kind of shouting this out. And the library attendant comes over like, what is, oh my goodness. And like all you can see are these little tiny specks, except for the head. The head is quite, it's quite noticeable. And they go running off. And it's just the two of you for a short period of time. Pema, do you go over to Reginald at that point when he calls?
Yeah, so I feel like Pema would have been kind of so deep in her studies that initially, sort of when this man fell and made a noise, that like without looking up, she was just like, shh, And then like Reginald got up and went over. And so now she's like feeling absolutely awful. And so she's going to run over to Reginald and just say, "Oh dear, what has happened here?"
No clue. The man just passed out. Look, there's no skin. And I'll like roll up a pant leg.
And you see as you roll up the pant leg, the whole leg. And go ahead and roll a sand test, Pema, as well.
Oh, do you think he was dead this whole time and we just thought he was
I don't know. I
taking
didn't
a
pay
nap?
much attention to the fellow. Perhaps we should look at what he was researching.
And then I rolled an 89 over 63 on my sand check.
Okay. Go ahead and take 2 points of sanity loss. So you look to see whether or not he has any research here, and you look, and it's just basic reference periodicals. There's like nothing here that there's no kind of continuity. It could just have been something that somebody left on the table recently. You don't see any signs of notes. He doesn't have a bag near him, doesn't have anything that suggests that he has been actively researching. There's no writing instrument nearby. None of it kind of seems to make sense. He might have just been sitting here for who knows how long.
Can I search him for ID or anything before
absolutely
arrives?
Hopefully your sleight of hand is higher than mine.
I think I'm pretty good at it.
Are you trying to do this without like kind of affecting anything, or do you just want to just do it quickly?
No, we'll try and do this without affecting anything.
Can Pema like kind of be watch? So if she sees that Reginald is starting to kind of rustle through his things, can Pema sort of be lookout?
Okay. Sleight of hand, I guess, is fine for this roll. It's okay. You're going to succeed on doing it no matter what. It's just a question of whether you leave like the suggestion of evidence behind. Pema, you go ahead and roll a spot hidden. It looks like Matt's
while I'm keeping an eye out. All right. So I've got a 60 in spot hidden. So hopefully I've got a decent shot with that. Why would I? I rolled an 81.
Burn 21 luck.
I would like to burn 21 luck because I'm really getting arrested here. So yeah.
So you keep a very close eye on everything. Reginald, roll that sleight of hand test. This is not to succeed at going through his things. This is to succeed at going through his things without making it obvious that you.
I have 50%. I rolled a 5.
Oh yeah. So you go through his pockets, the interior of that heavy coat. You find nothing. You find nothing, no identification, no wallet, nothing. It's just this heavy coat, this dress shirt that's kind of strangely buttoned, that's like kind of buttoned out of order. He's got, shoes, socks, all that kind of stuff on. And it's then that you kind of look at the shirt and you start kind of unbuttoning it a little bit. And that's when you see there's, as you kind of pull the shirt apart a little bit, you can see that there has been a note that seems to be kind of attached to the underside, like to the chest itself. Because when you look at it, you realize that it's actually like the chest is flayed, but there is a section of the chest that has something pinned to it.
It's pinned. I was going to ask how it was attached. So it's pinned to his
and it's
body?
Just sort of stabbed into it. And I will
soaked in blood.
I will show it to you all right now. Let me see. So, and as you're looking at it, I would say the two of you are smart enough to realize this is not just any kind of it's not manuscript paper, but when you look at it, you realize it's skin. So there's a note carved into skin, pinned onto the flayed chest of this man. And let me see if I can get this going. Sorry.
Carved skin. I see it.
Yeah, so it says carved skin, and it says on it, Derasis Olan Inkar Edel Mayasek. Either one of you can roll either, we'll say, an intelligence test or a no test, which is just education. You can roll that if you want to identify the language.
I can do intelligence.
Go for it.
77. I have 80, 77, under 80.
Okay. You would be able to identify this as Turkish.
Turkish delight.
So now the question becomes, and then we were talking, so I'm just going to clue the audience in here. So we're going to do a little thing where like they're going to be able to get languages based upon them coming up with little stories about why they might have gone to certain cities along the Orient Express and that kind of stuff. One such city along the Orient Express is Constantinople, which one of the languages there is Turkish. Now, Pema has already opted into being French. So Reginald, you can do a couple of different things here if you want to sort of take ownership of maybe knowing a little bit of Turkish and having been to Constantinople at some point and devising some kind of backstory for why you were there and what went wrong while you were there. Okay.
Yeah,
so then
I'll do that.
Give me an int test and we'll see what your skill in Turkish is. Whether it's, so if you pass, we'll say it's 40. If you fail, it's 20.
I failed. I'm gonna spend the luck.
Yes, do that. Okay, so we'll say
10 luck to pass.
You are fairly fluent in Turkish, and I would say no skill roll necessary in that case. I will tell you exactly. I will show you the translated version in that same place, same handout, and it says, "The skinless one will not be denied."
Skinless one will not be denied.
I'll translate that for Pema.
And she just kind of took a little bit of loss of sand, so she's just sort of been looking around, and so she's sort of not looking. Be like, you got up close and you looked at that. Oh,
that's clear as day. There's a note pinned right here to his chest. The skinless one will not be denied. This is the skinless one. What will he not be denied of?
So the skinless one will not be denied is a note that was written on skin that was pinned to the skin of a dead
skinless man, indeed.
You
can't deny him.
Taking this, sure.
I've seen things. This is nothing compared to what I've seen.
I've seen things.
And he opens his coat and shows you the electric gun.
Don't. She's like shaking her head, like, put that away. Put that away.
By the way, it's Istanbul. That's right. It's Istanbul. I forgot. We're not sure. There's a lot of like historical scenarios in here where it is actually Constantinople if you play some of the historical stuff, but it's Istanbul. Okay.
And I'm assuming with that roll there, that 5 or whatever, there's nothing else on him. That was it. So I'll button him back up.
There's nothing on it. Yeah. There's no other clues. Anything. That's the only thing that's sort of showing this chunk of skin on a flayed man.
I'll make a note of it because I'm assuming we've been making notes as we go through books. So I'll make sure to write this down and everything.
Sure. No problem. So you have a moment before this attendant comes back who went off to, is there anything else you wanted to do? Is there anything else you want to do? Did you want to linger here, which means answering possible questions and things, or did you want to try to get out of here without having to be delayed by such and such?
Let's skedaddle. Let's get out of here, Pema.
Yes, because we looked at his belongings, what he was looking at, and we looked at him. So we've covered that. Okay. I just want to make sure. Yep. Off we go.
Okay. So off you go. We'll say because it's it's very quiet. There's not that many people. It's possible you're seen. It's possible you're not seen, but you're certainly not stopped because the cops haven't arrived. And so you're able to kind of just work your way out as fast as you can, probably leaving a document or two behind. If someone really wanted to track you down, they might be able to because your reference was given, your names were given, that kind of thing. But whether or not that ends up being an issue, we'll figure that out later. Okay, so let's cut over then back to the Chelsea Arms hotel crew. So Killian, you had your conversation. Joseph, let's start with Joseph. Joseph, you're in the room. What do you want to do in here?
Well, clearly the straightforward thing is trying to do spot hidden, looking in the nooks and crannies. But more than that, I'm a man that likes to set a stage, review the scene. Now, I'm not a doctor. However, I have experience in first aid. I've seen amputations in the field of war. I was raised by a cult. I've seen human sacrifices. I understand blood spatter. I'm looking around to see where there might be such a thing, or if not, taking note that there is not. Going from there.
Okay. So yeah, you're looking to see whether or not there's like blood spatter. So you're basically to kind of do like a forensic assessment.
I'm taking a look around. Like I, there's the whole thing. What's one thing to open drawers, look under the bed, but more than that, he is curious to look and see if there is obvious blood spray.
Okay.
He's not a forensic man by any means. But
okay. If you're just looking for obvious stuff, there really is just this one spot in the middle of the room. There doesn't look to be anything that's been like splattered on the walls or the furniture. The room is in mostly decent condition. It's been rearranged a little bit. You would imagine probably because of the cops and such kind of move some things around as necessary. But you don't, I would say, obviously, you don't notice any blood spray or anything like that.
Okay. So I've got a strange idea in my head. Like I said, I'll look in corners, I'll open drawers, I'll check under the bed mattress, I'll even look and see if there's any loose floorboards. But there's a part of me, a strange curiosity to see if maybe the skin might have moved on its own. Like crawl marks. Just a strange, creepy hunch in my head.
Go ahead and roll spot hidden.
Joseph is a weird guy.
Yeah, he is. It fits
I
you.
mean, we were looking for train tracks indoors not that long ago. So, you know.
Oh, God. Like triple star success.
Under 45.
The madness is working.
So I will answer your question directly, and I will say that it does not look like that, unfortunately. It does
Good. Thank
seem to
goodness.
look like that. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I might be able to give you, though, for that really, really good success.
If anybody was watching, it would look like a madman reenacting multiple people, how they would stand, where they would have walked.
You like fake throwing yourself.
Yeah, he's like pretending he was somebody on the scene, replaying it.
Keep talking. I'm trying to see if there's something I can give you.
He's like throwing himself into the bed, throwing himself against the wall.
Now, hypothetically, if I was to hold somebody down and peel the skin off their arm, I would have done it here. I would have put their knee under their armpit here, wrapped around their throat here, and then I would have drawn across their skin here. So that would have been this. No, that doesn't fit.
But then you have to think, what receptacle would you have had to put the skin in after it was retrieved?
Okay.
Perhaps they were holding an umbrella while peeling the skin.
Is the
Not
umbrella
where I
going to
would
be
have
our
gone.
go-to?
Not where I would have gone.
I'm not
I'll
a
give
smart man, but I'm thorough.
I'll give you this, Joseph. You had a three-star success. You do notice a very, very faint smudge near one of the windows of this room that you think might be the tiniest bit of blood smudge, but it could also potentially be just assumed to be dust or grime or grease for kind of opening, whatever it might be. But you also then notice a very faint discoloration in one little particulate area of the rug here, and it almost seems like there might have been a trail, but it was kind of partially cleaned up. And you know that the cops wouldn't do it. You think someone likely, you could probably conclude there's not a whole lot to go on, but your instincts are probably telling you that someone came in, like whether they came in through the front door or through the window, you're not sure, but you're pretty confident that whoever killed this man not only got out the window, but did a damn good job of covering their tracks in doing so.
Well, clearly, if I don't know how to kill a person and keep it clean, this person's a professional. The case is solved. It's not.
Okay. All right. And that's honestly all you actually find. The place has been gone over a bunch. So like a lot of whatever evidence the cops might have gotten, they probably collected it already and filed it away. You have heard about the telegram and all sorts of other things, but like the flayed, like you kind of got as much. If there's any other evidence, they're either withholding it from public viewing, didn't want to tell 3 random people who showed up at Scotland Yard, or they don't deem it important.
Are there any
yeah,
is this a place that would have like writing materials like a quill or ink or anything like that?
There's a writing desk nearby. Yeah, you could potentially do that.
Out of politeness, I'll write a card. Look here, and I'll set it next to the smudge that I found.
Okay. So just let me take a little note. All right, got it.
So the police will just have this bizarre hint.
Several days later.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to Grigori. Grigori, you've been distracting this guy. You're well aware that Killian and Joseph have long disappeared from the lobby. Is there anything else Grigori wants to do?
Do they have a bar?
Yes, there's a whole restaurant area and lounge and bar where people seem to be taking ample use of it.
Okay. Yeah, they're doing their thing. I won't stop them. I have given them the distraction to get in. I will just go to the bar, hopefully in a position where I can still kind of like see the lobby area, have a nice drink, and keep watch.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Super easy.
Okay. Killian, what do you want to do after talking with this cleaning woman, Nancy?
I suppose I would, continue to see if I could find other people to ask about, but I imagine that wouldn't produce very many results. So I would go back down to the bar area that I assume is like not too far away from the lobby.
Exactly. Yeah, it's within like Grigori was saying, it's within sighted distance, and it probably as you come down, like you might even be able to see Grigori who has taken up a position. And I'll even say that if you go and talk to other folks, you would have maybe even gotten some confirmation here and there, but nothing as probably elaborate as Nancy gave you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see Grigori flags you down. No problem.
Yeah, Grigori, my good man. Thank you.
Got you a drink.
You're too kind.
Well, now we just need Joseph to return. We could finish our drinks and figure out what's next.
Oh, let's enjoy the moment that we have.
I agree.
So I came across the person who discovered the body. She had, it had affected her clearly, but not much else beyond what we knew, though. This one was young. That much we didn't know. And this was the one where his arm was flayed. So I asked if I could see the room, and she wouldn't allow that to happen. So hopefully Joseph was successful.
I'm sure he would.
Let's cut back to Joseph for a second. Jeremy, is Joseph doing anything in addition to searching this one room?
I think at this point it's a matter of getting out of here looking as nonchalant as possible, trying to just walk down the hallway.
Okay. Roll a stealth test.
All right.
I realized I had an elegant dinner party sound that I just dropped in there earlier.
Oh,
I was looking for like romantic. I was looking for like some romantic mood music between you and Killian, but I didn't have any.
Other chances.
Yeah.
I feel like let's just savor the moment now is probably that's not the first time Killian has said that.
69 over 48 for Joseph. Okay. You good with that?
I'm kind of okay with it, yeah, because it's kind of like he's going through it's the whole awkward thing of like the door that's already partially busted. He doesn't want to bust it more. He's trying to contort his body to get through the tape. Just stands up like kind of awkwardly, like tips his hat at another person in the hallway.
Yeah, you come out and you get like maybe like 5 steps. You hear a door creak open. There's a person kind of looking at you, and maybe they don't see you exactly coming out of the door, but they see you a couple steps away, like making some sort of strange move, like non-natural walking. You tip of the cap, and they just kind of look at you and tip of the cap back, but with a confused look on their face as it happens. And then we'll say you make it down to the lobby. You see Grigori and Killian, the 3 of you together. What do you guys want to do now?
I've got a whiskey for him.
I forgot something.
Which is?
I forgot to talk with the maintenance staff.
Oh, well, I could use another round.
Yes. another aviation for me when I get back, please.
Yes.
I will say, for the sake of moving it along and not leading you down a path where there's nothing, you will say part of your speaking with other people was speaking with the maintenance staff, and you didn't really necessarily glean anything new from them.
Okay.
They can confirm one or two things that Nancy told you, and then some of the other things they give you are maybe just like random speculation, but none of it seems, I would say, to your ear to sound accurate.
Well, all in all, Nancy drew quite the picture, but it was nothing that led to too much else.
Very well.
Okay.
Well.
So we'll say most of the day has passed now. It's evening time. Pema and Reginald, you've had your time researching it. That crazy incident towards the end of the day, the three of you visited Chelsea Arms Hotel, probably did some additional shopping here and there. And we'll say, just for the sake of getting you all back together, we'll say sometime in the evening, whatever hotel you've designated, there's a few different ones we can look at, but we'll say that the five of you will eventually meet for dinner or meet at a hotel or something like that, so you can kind of plan your next steps. And so we'll fast forward a few hours, and that's where we're at. The five of you are together. What would the plan be now? What would you guys want to do?
Well, the hotel had a little bit of information, but listening and presumably what you two had shared, didn't it mention that he owned some kind of shop as well? Or was that something Cillian picked up? I don't remember.
You would know that already because you broke into that shop.
We broke into
It's
it.
that same shop.
Yeah, we were the one that broke into it. Yeah.
Okay.
So good.
Well, it was more of a confirmation of it than anything else. But, it almost seems like, from what was described, that if they're taking different parts from a person, all the same name, like they're trying to reconstruct him or make their own.
Oh, here's a crazy thought. Have we already gotten your mention of the skinless man?
Yeah,
Crazy thought.
Did you bring the skin back with you?
No, that is gross.
What if this person is controlling the other ones that are representing him? What if this man cut off his own skin, grafted it onto them, and somehow was then present with them as they traveled? And then he came to recollect it to make himself whole once again.
Honestly, that doesn't sound far-fetched. Given the circumstances of we were in a basement and the train showed up and we got on and fist fought ghosts.
Fought. It was fought.
It was fought. I didn't hear that. I thought I heard something else.
Would we have seen any pictures of the deceased Mehmet Makriyats that we would be able to compare to the Mehmet Makriyat owner of the store?
No, I don't think you would have. I'll say, if you want, you can roll a luck test to see if you might just so happen to find a picture displayed in a newspaper in like a follow-up story or something like that. But I don't think as of yet you've had any reason to do so.
I am not the best person to roll luck checks for things like this. I also feel like it's my role in the stream to like have some things that I'm talking about while everyone else is like cracking the hell up about some other thing. And I'm just like tootling along with the serious. No, it's funny because I'm like feeling
I'll let two people roll it. So you can roll it. We can have one other person roll it. It's fine.
What are we rolling?
One other luck test. I want Pema to roll it, and I want somebody else to roll it too.
A luck test, you say?
Yeah, go for it, Joseph.
I think you're just the man for the job.
I think you're the perfect guy for it.
I didn't get a great check, but still,
he still succeeded. Which I did not.
Okay. So I'll say, as you guys we'll say you're in, the hotel. Maybe I think I had names. I think one of them was like the Carlton. I'll show you guys the Traveler's Companion, and it kind of lists actual hotel names. It's pretty cool. We'll call it the Carlton. I think. Say that's where you're at, because that's one of the nicer hotels here, and that's probably where Grigori is set up. I'll say, Joseph, you just maybe have a newspaper out. You're kind of flipping through it, and you can see somewhere buried is just sort of. Yeah, there's no new information in the article, but it's maybe just discussion over what's going to become of this space now as the search for more Mehmets continue or something like that. And none of it seems sort of investigatively relevant, but you do actually find a picture of the man, and he is an older man. You would probably peg him in his 50s, maybe at least late 40s. There are some superficial kind of similarities between him and the younger men, but the age is quite clearly different. I think I might even have a pic of one of them. But yeah, it's clearly of greater age. Let me see. Go ahead and share this with you all too. But you can tell he's a distinguished man. He looks to be sort of fairly well-to-do when you look at him, but he is most certainly not in his 20s.
Look at the picture. Look at the mustache. Look over at Grigori. Squint.
I swear it's not me.
It's not quite as voluminous.
True. He's got a good starter. So I like your idea that he's capturing people and putting his skin on them and making them do things and then taking his skin back when he's done.
This also has to do with a statue that was broken apart into different pieces, and the pieces were spread all over.
And hypothetically, he may already have a piece. Each piece can grant power. The more pieces, the more power. Is it not too far-fetched to think that if he already has a piece of the simulacrum, that perhaps he can break apart himself as well, much as this relic has been broken apart?
I shudder to think this, but so the elder Macreot has been missing for quite some time.
Yes.
And is it after the disappearance of the elder Macreot that there have now been discovered these younger and deceased Macreots with?
Well, yeah, the older one was missing when we initially started looking. And the other ones started showing up dead while we were away on the train.
So those things could be related. Not quite sure how. If he is trying to do something himself, or if someone is doing something, has taken him. If he has gone off to do some type of experimentation, or if someone has taken him to do experimentation.
Yes, well, Pema, with that point, and Grigori, you think that he has a piece. Wouldn't we want to beat him to the second one?
I agree entirely. I mean, we either hunt him down and claim the piece he has, or we try and cut him off, keep him from getting the other ones. There's a good chance if we're hunting for the other ones, he'll be hunting for the other ones, and we can ambush him along the way.
Well, is there anything else we need to do before we leave, then?
Have another drink?
Yes, of course.
I believe the only... Killian, were you saying, I think the only other bit of information we had here was that at least one of the younger Macreots was having issues with the Turkish embassy?
Yes, that's true. Perhaps we could go and speak with the embassy.
entirely sure what information they could provide, but that appears to be the only further lead that we have here. Everything else is pointing us to locations abroad.
Ah. Yes,
Well,
but
First stop for the rest of the pieces was in France, wasn't it?
Agreed.
well, Istanbul is in Turkey. Perhaps we could stop in on a pretense that we are heading to Turkey. Don't we need to go to Istanbul at some point?
Indeed.
Well, perhaps we could use that as a pretense or a ruse, and then find some way of bringing it up in conversation.
Well, it's been all over the news.
Yes.
These multiple Makriats going murdered.
Yes, forgive me, I'm having a bit of a moment trying to think of a good pretense, but if we could think of one, I'm sure we could pull it off.
Well, I mean, the piece of skin, none of the others have that, and it just happened to be right where you two were studying. I would call that a warning. I would put in favor of moving sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It was no coincidence.
What did you do with the skin?
We left there. The authorities were on their way, and we didn't want to answer any questions.
Yes, okay. Well,
Mr. Kozel, I do appreciate your wisdom that perhaps going somewhere where they're not likely to want to give us information about their nationals may not be the wisest choice. So we want to rustle up some tickets to Paris.
You already have them. I think Kozel already booked passage
Yes,
for everybody.
I've got 5 tickets to Paris, Dice.
you know,
Sorry. I'm very sorry.
one thing I could do with this new kit that you got me, I could disguise myself as someone that would have reason to be at the Turkish embassy.
You
Sorry.
could, but
Just-
I'm
just want to give you
a bit
point of order.
concerned.
You could probably go in and talk to somebody at the Turkish embassy. Like it's not like they wouldn't talk to you. It's just a question of whether they would give you information. Like that would be the whole thing. And even somebody, that's all it is. Like you could walk. It's not like you guys wouldn't be allowed to walk in there and talk but it would be like, like any other situation where you would roll this or that to see if they would be willing to share information, especially if it's private information that's not supposed to be shared. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I still think if we're on a path to collect these pieces, as are they, and we keep them from getting them, and we're more than likely to encounter them along the way, we can use those opportunities to try and claim what they have.
True, because if we have more than them or even one, we're bound to meet them sooner or later.
That's true. And maybe we can learn all sorts of cool stuff and make like extra Reginald's to go with all of his personalities.
There was a recommendation in chat that it's one of Reginald's personalities that knows Turkish. It really does work well. It really does work well to flesh out a character of just multiple personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you've convinced me, Mr. Kozel.
Well, let us make like a tree and get on a train.
Okay. So with that in mind, we'll say you spend one last night in your hotels as it is evening time. You have travel booked. We'll say you had it booked for Tuesday. That's perfectly fine. Obviously, if there's any last minute things you could have, like if it's just basic character stuff, we'll say that happens. And we'll say in the morning, you all head out for your trip to Paris. I think we talked and we decided you're going to do the train ferry route as opposed to trying to book flight.
Yeah.
And so London to Paris takes about 8 hours. and it involves taking a train first from London to Dover, which takes a few hours. Then once you're in Dover, you take a ferry over to Calais, which is on the French side of the Channel. Then there you book another train, not the Orient Express yet, that takes you into Paris. And it's in Paris, where you could do some searching for, you have a couple clues and so a couple leads in Paris, and then also where you can actually hop aboard the Orient Express. So here's what I would like to do during the travel time. So I said to you all, I'm going to give you like bonus skill points to spend as we finish certain chapters or so. Well, we're leaving London. We're finishing a chapter. But what I'm going to say is we're going to do like a little interlude to pass the time as we travel. It's not a very lengthy travel. Like I said, it's only about 8 hours or so, or 9 hours, something like that. The ferry ride can sometimes fluctuate depending on the weather. But I would just let's just do like our classic interludes. We played a lot of Savage Worlds and Deadlands and stuff. I really like the interludes. And so we'll just do that, flesh out some characters. So London to Denver, very leisurely travel, doesn't stop. There's no stops along this route. Goes to the English countryside. You've seen some of this before, not necessarily. You've seen like Northwest. We're going a different route. Goes through Kent, across the Romney marsh grasses, and then finally into Dover. And then you kind of wait around to sort of board a ferry while you're in Dover. So we'll say everyone just kind of give me an interlude. What's something that you're doing during the travel, whether it's this initial train ride to Dover, whether it's on the ferry, which again is going to take a couple hours, and then or even in the last leg. So we can go in any order, and once you do it, you're free to spend those bonus 5 skill points that I mentioned before. Okay, so let's do that.
All right. I will gladly offer myself up first. I will take the initial train ride and spend all of it at the bar. Schmoozing, getting to know people and their stories. I realized as I was trying to keep the hotel staff distracted that my money is only so charming in certain situations. So I am going to be just flirting with everything. Maybe Killian's giving me some coaching lessons here and there. It's like, no, waggle your mustache left to right, not up to down. You look like an idiot.
And make sure that you don't come right out with it either. You need to
tuck the mustache in my mouth, and then when I'm ready, pop it out.
No, I mean, don't say what you want. Let them arrive at the conclusion themselves.
Be coy. Yes. Lay the bait. Let them come to me.
So, Grigori, you spend your entire time on this train ride, this initial train ride,
yes.
in this drinking car. You're talking with, and in some cases, flirting with some people, and they have a limited amount of refreshment that they can provide, but they will obviously provide you some. This is not as stately and extravagant as the Orient Express is. Go ahead and roll a spot hidden test.
You've got it. I fail.
Okay.
That is 83 over 52.
Okay. You notice as you're kind of on the train ride here, that much like the day before, it's horrible weather once more. Like these heavy clouds kind of start rolling in. You're talking to folks here and there. You're hearing some laughter. Maybe you're getting some nice conversation. Others might be put out by you in some ways. But every now and then you kind of look out the window and you see it's getting. You no longer see the countryside. You don't see like hills. You don't see towns. You don't see kind of a landscape. You just kind of see this kind of gray, vague fog, an occasional rumble of thunder, and you see like these shadows here and there kind of in the fog. No one else in this dining car, this drink car, seems to have any care about it at all. One or two of them might even be just kind of staring out the window. Others, no one seems to be bothered by it. But as you're watching, you're just seeing like these shadows kind of flicker and move around here and there. You hear the crackle of thunder, and you just can't see anything. It's not too dissimilar from your time on the Doom train.
Was going to be my next question. Is it bringing back feelings of the similar kind of?
So when you look out, you don't really notice the precision of those world lines where we saw like the train kind of looping, and then that one passage that got kind of tossed around that kind of made those lines. You don't really see that. It's more blurred and vague. You know, you can't quite make it out. If you like, you can't. So you missed your spot hidden, but if you want to roll a listen, you can do a listen as well. You do that instead.
Very well. Nope, that is 20 that I needed to hit, and I rolled a 60.
It's kind of loud in here. There's a lot of conversation that's going on. None of the conversation is particularly interesting. It's a little unsettling, but since nobody else seems to be unsettled by it, maybe you just had one too many. Maybe that's all.
Very well. It happens to the best of us.
Fair enough. Okay, we'll kick it over to somebody else. Somebody else give me a little interlude of your time on this trek.
You know, you first.
Oh, okay.
Good, Reginald.
Reginald picked up some tools before leaving, and he's going to use them on the various locks around this train. He wants to improve. He remembers, being in strange places and awkward situations and feeling trapped, and he wants to be able to get out of situations when needed. So he's going to work on his locksmithing, toying with the locks here and there on the train.
Yeah, so you kind of get up here and there. There are, I would say, some compartments. Again, this is not like this luxury. People are staying on this for days on end, the way the Orient Express is, but it still nonetheless has some private compartments here and there. Not necessarily for overnight stay, but at least for people to just sort of stay in here and there. And so you're able to kind of experiment with that from time to time. I'll say at one point, when you kind of go up to one of these doors, roll a listen roll, but roll it with a penalty. Actually, no, don't roll with a penalty. Just roll a regular listen.
I was like, it's terrible.
Just roll a regular listen.
I rolled a 4.
Okay.
Wow, under 20.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I know, I have a 20. So I was like, don't give me a penalty, Jeff, because I'm not going to make this.
Okay. So you're kind of messing around with this one lock. You're kind of tinkering with it here and there. And you've been going, and each time you go up to one of these doors, you kind of listen in for a second, listen for quiet. And if it's quiet, or if you hear anyone inside, if you hear someone inside, you don't pick the lock. That would look really terrible. But so you lean up against one, you listen for a second, and at a certain point, you think you hear kind of mumbled voices, and then you hear the sound. Then those mumbled voices start to kind of shift, and they stop sounding like voices themselves, and you just hear like a ding dong, and then you hear another ding, ding, and you just hear like these back and forth, where what would otherwise be a conversation between people is just almost like these chimes or bells in this sort of muted manner, almost as if they're like kind of conversing with one another. Now it's up to you whether you want to proceed with the locksmith roll.
Oh, let's try it.
Okay, go ahead and roll a locksmith test.
Nope, failed.
Okay, do you want to push it?
What happens if I push it?
So if you push and fail, something bad can happen. Meaning, like there's going to be consequences. Like someone's going to catch you doing this. It was probably the most likely consequence.
No, because I only have a 20 in that as well. That's why I'm looking up it. So,
okay.
No.
So you're listening in, and again, you don't know where else the bells are coming. It's very localized through this. You lean back and away, and you don't hear it. It's only when you put your ear up against the door and listen in that you actually hear this conversation. You kind of curiosity overtakes you. You start messing around with the lock, and you've opened like 3 of these, and they're essentially the same lock. But for some reason, this one seems a little bit more convoluted, a little bit more complex, and it just doesn't open. You kind of stand back for a second, and you hear a door open up from down the hall. Someone steps out, and you realize you kind of have to stop what you're doing, or else you're going to be caught. But you're not quite sure what exactly is going on inside there. Okay. Would anybody want to do another thing on this train or the ferry? Remember, there's a second train too. So if you had something for a train, we can always do that. Anybody want to do something on the ferry, maybe?
Killian's going to start thinking about what all clients he has in that area, and one comes to mind that was really into the meaning of dreams, and how they used to perform some exercises together where, like, throughout periods of the day when they would be out to lunch or on a stroll, if something strange had happened, to look down at your hands. And then as you were laying down to sleep, to imagine an object in your mind's eye and rotate it. So he's going to start working on basically that lucid dreaming in order to prepare himself. And that way he can have her interpret his dreams, because he believes fully in that.
Okay. When you, we'll say it maybe at some point, like that requires you maybe at some point maybe to doze off or something here or there, or maybe you don't even realize you doze off, but you wake up, or maybe you just become conscious once more after you kind of let your mind drift. And as you're kind of shifting around in your seat, you hear a crunch kind of underneath you.
Well, that's on. Let's see what's under here.
So you kind of get up, you kind of lean forward, and you pull out what looks like a crumpled piece of paper.
Oh. Let's see if there's anything written on it.
You unfurl it, and you notice that there's only one thing that seems legible, and it seems to be the kind of the header of this piece of paper, and it's the Chelsea Arms Hotel. So it looks like this is like the header for this particular piece of paper. But then everything else on it is just this kind of jumbled mess of letters. Just letters. Dozens of them. In no particular order, not written in lines. Some are bigger than others, some are smaller, some are crooked, some are lowercase, some are uppercase, some are written in different color ink. Some seem like they're written by a child's hand, others by, something almost calligraphy like. It's just this jumbled mess.
I almost think that this would be one of Reginald's notes with how different the handwriting is. So I will, study it, but I don't know if I'll see anything from it. And other than that, I will store it away for safekeeping, and perhaps I can show it to some who, I'll go to Reginald, because one thing in psychology I would know is that different personalities also have different handwriting.
Okay. So yeah, if you take a look at it, Reginald, you will notice the same thing. Like, the header has the Chelsea Arms Hotel. The only thing that's really, it's a proper printed top of the letter. And then there's, again, dozens of these letters. None of them look, I would say, like whatever personality is occupying Reginald currently. None of them look like your handwriting, even if you even like just kind of experiment here. None of them really stand out to you. And some of them are very noteworthy in terms of like their style. And nothing, I would say, immediately stands out to you as being your penmanship.
So, after that, I'll just kind of hold on to it and, see if it would mean anything, just if it would ever come up again. But with the different letters and everything, I have a feeling that this will come in useful later.
Okay. Yeah. So you just tuck it away in the pocket of your jacket, or you find a bag to place it in, whatever it might be. Put it away for safekeeping.
perhaps as I'm doing that exercise, well, I'll try and think of the shape of each letter and how it's written, and rotate that letter in my mind's eye.
Okay. Can I continue your practice? Sure. And then finally, Pema, is there anything you're doing aboard this ferry, or you want to do aboard this last leg? One thing you will notice, I would say, on the ferry is that the weather is quite poor, and that it's not a very pleasant ferry ride, and so it's kind of sloshing around, and some of you might even be feeling a touch of nausea, touch of seasickness. Nothing too terrible. You hear the same crackling of storms. You see many other people who are kind of wandering about, and then with the ferry, like they're actually first class and like second class cabins and things like that, and others that are just sort of in the more standard place, more kind of communal in a way. But it is not a pleasant ride. And then there's the final leg of the journey there. Anything for you, Pema?
Yeah. So Pema, especially during the ferry ride where there's not really much to look at, the weather's poor outside. And so she would kind of be under, kind of some cover. And she's traveled with Mr. Kozel before. And so would like to throw out there that kind of over the course of their interactions before, that Mr. Kozel is better than Pema at like card tricks. So I'm trying to improve sleight of hand. So I'm imagining that Pema would kind of go over to Mr. Kozel, looking a little kind of green around the gills, so to speak. Mr. Kozel, I do believe I'd need a bit of a distraction from this absolutely awful weather.
Absolutely, my dear. You look quite rough at the moment.
Yeah, it's I left breakfast back there. I'm hoping to maybe settle it a little bit before lunch. That's those tricks that you were showing me. I know it's been a few years, and I think I've gotten a bit rusty with it, but perhaps that might take my mind off of the incessant back and forth of this.
Absolutely. I just happen to have one of my deck of cards right here. Just find a dry place. Show you a little, the old razzle dazzle, as they say.
So you find a spot. Are we on the ferry, Pema? Is that where
Yes, we're on the ferry.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
So you're kind of sloshing back and forth. You find a spot, maybe towards like one of the communal areas. You place to sit, and you hear, as you're kind of going through and doing this practice, you hear the sounds of kind of people laughing, some people shouting, like a kind of a ruckus. And as you and Grigori look over, you can see that on the other side of this fairly long communal chamber, where there's a handful of like these bench seated areas where you can see a couple folks. It's not as, the ferry isn't as full perhaps as it might be some other days. And you can see that there is a group of people that is sort of drunkenly moving about. You can see many of them are wearing quite flamboyant clothing, very, very colorful in some regards. Like it doesn't look like travel wear. And you see them kind of moving about, and they kind of stand in front of a group that's sitting at the bench, and they start kind of gesticulating wildly. You get this sense that they're kind of performers, like you're not sure if they're street performers, beggars, or whatever. And they start going through, and they're kind of handing things out. And then they kind of come up to you two. And as they get close, you realize they're all the clothing is soiled and stained. You can see very clear stains. You're not sure if it's drunk, if it's like they've been drinking. They do smell somewhat like booze, but you're not sure if it's like those are new stains, old stains, extremely colorful, very court jester-like. They almost look like they're wearing clothing from another time. They're clearly costumes. Some of them are wearing masks, others like hastily donned makeup. and they're clearly drunk and swaying, and they speak very poor English. And one of them you can see is like occasionally ringing this really tiny bell, like it's super small, but they're doing so in a very large way, like with a big long sweep of his arm. And they're trying to talk to you all, the two of you. Go ahead if you would like. You can roll a know or an intelligence test to identify the language.
Pema's got int at 80, so.
Yeah, but I think you also have a bonus for doing no rolls. Don't forget, with your talent, your pulp talent. I think you chose the pulp talent. They gave you a bonus die for no rolls.
So for my photographic memory.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So I would say that probably doesn't come into play
No.
here.
Doesn't come into play here. This is all just being able to recognize language.
Are you kidding? All right, I will spend the 4 luck to get a success.
Okay, Grigori, how'd you do?
Oh, yes. Let me roll that for you. 81 over 80. I will spend 1 point of luck.
Okay, both of you would be able to recognize this as Italian. So they are very much speaking Italian. I don't think. Do either of you speak Italian?
Not currently. Not. Yes, as
Would you like
do.
to say you do?
Yeah, you're welcome to.
I
Come up.
did spend a good amount of time in the boot, one might say, on fishing expeditions. It's also a short hop over from the northern African coast, and I've spent a lot of time game hunting. Just take a little ferry, get on a train, head south. So yes, I've probably spent a good amount of time.
Sure. Roll an in test to
Italy.
see how fluent you have come to be with Italian.
Not very well. No, I mainly just where's the bathroom, where's the bar.
So you could take
92 over 60.
You can take language Italian 20%, which means that
Very
you're
well.
not getting necessarily everything they're saying, but you're piecing together. It's maybe you think it's like a Hamlet. Maybe it's Hamlet. It's something about court intrigue. It's about, like, you can definitely tell, like, there's something about princes and kings or queens, some royalty of some kind. And it's like they're doing like a brief scene. And then after a certain point, they kind of hand out flyers to both of you.
Very well. I'll be relaying what little bit that I can suss out from it and gladly take a flyer.
Okay.
I feel like Pema would just sort of be kind of like listening to what you're saying and just say, you just made that last bit up, didn't you?
I did not. I promise. I don't think I did. This is what it sounded like.
I think you are pulling a fast one, as they say.
Not intentionally.
So it's just good natured, kind of
Fair enough.
joshing.
Yes.
And then I think we didn't do Joseph, actually. Joseph,
You
now
did
that I think
not.
about it,
You
I don't think we
skipped
did.
him.
That's fair. You know, some people get green in the gills from this bad weather. Some people already have greenish gill-like appearance. I started off drinking, was talking about France. Started off great. We were talking about when we rented out a whole little village for Scaramouche. We filmed there. Then I got deep in my cups. I started talking about how miserable it was to have the French gas mask, the M2. For some reason, U.S. troops believe that if you urinated on it, your own ammonia in your urine would help neutralize the effects of gas during that horrific war. And I had this buddy that was so dehydrated, he begged me to piss on his mask. And I realized that I'm in terrible conversation right now, and I just need to dive into the water because that's where I feel at home. It makes me feel at peace. So I dive into those horrible waters, and I go for a swim to clear my head because I realize I'm making an ass of myself.
So we'll say you do this probably once the ferry reaches a dock or something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah. It's extremely cold as it's wintertime. And
Yeah.
so when you pop out, you are probably not feeling all that great. And it is if you get out relatively quickly and sort of dry yourself off and find a fire while you're waiting around for the train in Dover, you could probably warm yourself up. You are taking a significant number of strange looks at your behavior as people are kind of staring at you for the strangest of things. And I would say your listen roll, regardless of what it is, you probably hear an occasional, Is he really a fishman? I think he might be an actual fishman. Look at him, darling.
Fishman get a fish.
I will say this though, Joseph. You do notice something does sort of stand out to you as you're kind of given a hand to come out. Maybe your buddy Reggie comes and gives you a hand out. You may have noticed them on the train from London to Dover, but didn't really think about it too much. And maybe it was on the ferry. But now that you're here, like everyone's kind of staring at you. But you do notice like there's these two guys kind of staring at you. Both of them are wearing this sort of kind of dark trench coat, dark hat. You can't really even get a sense of their eyes. It's just sort of covered by the brim of this kind of wide fedora. And they're kind of just sort of watching you for even after like the hubbub of your spectacle of swimming around in these frigid waters starts to subside. When you hear the sounds of people kind of calling for the and you're in Calais at this point, calling for the train, everyone to board, you notice they've kind of been staring at you this whole time. You kind of board the train. They kind of sit in a car near you, and everyone's just sort of like they're just watching you. They never talk to one another. They wave away any attendant who comes by if they ask them if they need anything, and they're just sort of staring at you the whole time.
I'll just make sure to wave at them and say, "Nice hat."
Okay. So you say, "Nice hat," and they kind of look up at you. Then they, as you say, they kind of exchange a look at each other, and they look at you once more, and they wander past. Or you wander past, I would say. So finally, as we're kind of doing this last leg of the travel, you guys are traveling through basically from Calais to Paris. Again, not a very long amount of time. And so we're going to end tonight with you all pulling into Paris and arriving. We're going to start up Paris next time. As you're kind of collecting your things and kind of getting your stuff together, kind of hop down off the train car. You're going to sort of kind of collect whatever it is you might have collected. Pema, Grigori, you guys are kind of still practicing your tricks. You've got those little invitations. Grigori, you see yours. It's just a sort of a vague reference to some sort of traveling acting troupe. It's not well laid out. Pema, on the other hand, when you look down, you have a completely different flyer in your hand. It's a broadside. It's got this kind of flamboyant lettering. It's stenciled in some way. That's what Grigori's is. Pema, you see yours. Yours is sort of faded. It's got water stains, or it looks to be even a footprint on it. It looks like something that was just sort of picked up out of the gutter off of the streets. And you see this sort of vague lettering. It's French, which I believe Pema speaks.
Yes.
And you see Le Roi en jaune, which Pema, you can see it appears to be some kind of advertisement for an opening of a play. A play that, as you translate in your head, is one you have seen prior in your life.
Yes,
it just says "The King in Yellow," and we'll end there, and we'll pick up on you being in Paris and Pema having a flyer to an old showing of "The King in Yellow." So we're on there.
Hey,
Hey.
We did
You guys
it.
are in Paris. You did it. All right. We have a new map to switch to and stuff. It's great. All
I
right.
think the pub crawl could have been fun.
We could have done that. We could have hung out in London the whole time. Screw the Orient Express. You guys you just call the cab that you're in all the time the Orient Express, and that's that.
That's it.
All right, let's do some closing plugs so we can get out of here. Jeremy, tell us about this Patreon.
Yeah, Aaron Reese on Patreon. If you got comics, maps, tokens, other fun assets, check it out.
Perfect. Chuck, tell us what's the OK doing this week, man?
Oh yeah. Wednesday we got our Alien All Fear the Ishtar campaign. We're playing Space Pirates, where Jeff is the captain and Jeremy is his son, who's reaching those teenage years. So things have been a little testy. Oh yeah. Fridays, we've got our Umerica campaign, Mutated Teenage Monstrosities. So if you like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Cadillac and Dinosaurs, Toxic Crusaders, really dumb things like that, then this could be the campaign for you to watch. And every single Tuesday and Thursday over on our YouTube, we're dropping our Pathfinder Age of Ashes campaign, 20-minute episodes, easy to digest, where we all play goblins and just make John, because John's running, we make his life as hard as possible.
Fantastic. Adam, what about Grim and Perilous, man?
Yeah, grimandperilous.com. That's our website. You can check out any of the games that we have made, supplements we've made for said game. And if you want to follow our socials at the top of the website as well, there's all that stuff you can find: YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, etc. So, give us a follow.
Perfect. And Matt, what about you, man?
We're on Garblight Games Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're still making our way through the Shadows of Atlantis campaign for cthulhu. We're going to finish British Honduras this week and start the next section, because there's not a lot left in the one that we've got right now. So
perfect. Yeah, we made a mess of things last Thursday.
No, it's all right. I can fix the mess.
Okay. As for us here, our next game is tomorrow night, as our buddy Steven is going to be running some Forbidden Lands, continuing our Beneath Ash and Snow campaign. Friday, we will be back to Conan, where Aaron will be taking the GM seat as we're playing our Conan 2D20 system. Saturday, we'll back to One Ring. Not only are we back to One Ring, but it's a very big and very important episode. It's episode 50 of our campaign. And we're giving away like a ton of stuff. Free League has been kind enough to give us some physical copy of the bundle to give away, and a couple PDF copies as well. And then our buddy Eric from Norse Foundry is going to be letting us give away some dice rewards, or at least some gift card rewards for you to spend however you want to spend over on Norse Foundry. So definitely come early, because we're going to spread the gifts out. And so for those of you who join the stream early, you're going to be able to get a chance at some stuff. And then we're going to do some stuff in the middle, and we're going to do some stuff at the end. So whether you can be there the whole time or not, you're going to be there for at least one or two giveaways. So come hang out for that. Lots of stuff. And then next Monday, we're going to be doing Holler. And we alternate between Holler and Horror on the Orient Express. Check out the YouTube page, obviously, Adventures in Lollygagging, for all the other stuff that we have going on. And we will be back in 2 weeks with more Call of Cthulhu, Horror on the Orient Express. Thanks for everyone hanging out tonight. Thanks for the raid earlier on by Lords and Ladies of Fate. We are going to pay it forward. We're going to raid Happy Jack's RPG. So whether you're watching this now or later, thank you. Follow, if you can, if you don't mind, follow Chuck, follow Grim and Perilous. Come hang out with us on Garblight as well. And we'll see you all next time. So bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.